Welcome back, Focus learners. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today we're breaking down an absolute titan of a book, Getting to Yes by William Ury and Roger Fisher. These two geniuses founded the Harvard Negotiation Project, and throughout this explainer, we're going to visually map out their framework. Think of it like a high-stakes cinematic animation playing out in your mind, where we completely rewire how you handle conflicts, close deals, or even just settle everyday arguments. Because here's the wild part. What they discovered is that practically all of us have been doing negotiation completely backwards. So here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The myth of winning. 2. The 4-step framework. 3. Defeating dirty tactics. And 4. Handling power and personal attacks. Section 1. The myth of winning. Honestly, it's time to completely shift your mindset here. When most of us walk into a negotiation, we immediately put up our fists, right? We treat it like a zero-sum game. So I want to ask you a really direct question. Think back to your last argument, or maybe your last salary negotiation. Who was winning? Seriously, think about that for a second. If you had a scoreboard in your head, who was ahead? Well, brace yourself for a bit of a gut punch. If you're asking who is winning, you've actually already lost. The researchers at the Harvard Negotiation Project make this absolutely crystal clear. Real negotiation is definitely not about winning or losing. The true goal, literally the only goal that works in the long run, is finding a wise, highly practical solution that leaves both sides happy without totally destroying the relationship. If you walk in treating it like a battle scene, you're going to leave incredible value sitting right there on the table. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. Just picture this little animated sequence unfolding. Two kids are aggressively arguing over a single orange. The parent steps in, playing the tough judge, takes a knife and splits it perfectly 50-50. Totally fair, right? But watch the tragedy here. Kid number 1 eats their 50% of the fruit and throws the peel in the trash. Kid number 2, who actually just wanted to bake a cake, grates their 50% of the peel and throws the fruit in the trash. By just blindly compromising instead of asking why each kid wanted the orange, literally half of the total value went straight into the garbage. If they had just communicated, both kids could have gotten 100% of what they wanted. Section 2. The 4-step framework, also known as the Harvard method. All right. Consider this your ultimate practical toolkit. Master these 4 steps, and I promise you'll never leave 50% of your orange in the trash again. Step 1. Focus on interests. Step 2. Use fair standards. Step 3. Invent options. And Step 4. Separate the people from the problem. Let's break this mental roadmap down, starting with the absolute vital difference between a position and an interest. So Step 1 is focusing on interests, not positions. Imagine a scene with 2 people bickering in a quiet library. One plants their flag on a position. I want this window open. The other takes the opposite position. I want this window closed. If you just sit there arguing positions, you're completely gridlocked. But what if we hit pause and just ask why? That's how we uncover the hidden interest. Person A's underlying interest is simply getting some fresh air. Person B's interest is just not having the wind blow their messy stack of papers everywhere. The smart librarian overhears this, figures out those interests, walks into the very next room, and opens that window. Fresh air flows in, no papers get blown away. Boom, 100% satisfaction. You have to dig past the specific demand and ask why to uncover the real underlying interest. Moving on to Step 2, use fair, objective standards. Look, no matter how nice you are, conflicts of interest are gonna pop up. Your landlord wants high rent, you want low rent. Instead of turning it into this exhausting battle of wills, shift the focus to an objective metric. Use the exact phrase, let's check the rules or regulations. For example, imagine a contractor wants to pour a 2-foot foundation for your house, but you're convinced it should be 5 feet. Don't just stubbornly compromise at 3.5 feet. You say, look, maybe I'm completely wrong here. Let's just pull up the government standard specifications for these specific soil conditions. It completely removes the ego from the equation. Suddenly, it's not you demanding it, it's just the objective standard doing the talking. Step 3, invent options for mutual gain. When you hit a brick wall, you need to step back into a super informal, low-pressure environment and brainstorm. And the golden rule here is absolutely no judging early. You have to separate the wild, creative brainstorming phase from the actual selection phase. Let the ideas flow. Think about the classic cake cutting problem. 2 people want to share a cake fairly. How do you invent a solution where literally no one feels cheated? Well, you make a rule. One person cuts the cake, and the other person gets to pick their piece first. The person holding the knife is going to painstakingly ensure that split is perfectly even to protect themselves. You want to use creative frameworks exactly like that to invent fair options. And that leads us perfectly into Step 4. I really want you to notice this massive statistic, 25 to 30%. Step 4 is all about separating the people from the problem. And honestly, one of the easiest, most effective ways to do that is to build a relationship before the actual negotiation even starts. Multiple studies cited in our source materials show that simply getting to know the person across the table, just chatting before the meeting and understanding their basic likes and dislikes jumps your overall success rate by 25 to 30%. It just humanizes the whole interaction. So the crucial point to take away is perfectly captured in his golden rule from the Harvard team. Be soft on the person, but hard on the problem. Before you even open your mouth to speak, visualize an animated line dropping right down the middle of the room. Put the fragile human egos on one side of that line and the cold, hard problem on the other. You want to compliment their efforts and treat them with respect, but you remain absolutely, unapologetically firm on the actual issue you're both trying to solve. Section 3. Defeating dirty tactics. Let's talk about neutralizing tricks. Now, the 4 steps we just went over sound totally amazing in a perfect world, right? But what happens when the other side isn't playing fair? What happens when they straight up lie or use weird, aggressive pressure tactics? Well, the absolute best way to disarm a dirty trick is to politely, but very directly, mention the tactic out loud. Just call it out, but without attacking the person. If they're trying to pressure you, just lean back and say, "Joe, it really seems like you and Ted are playing good cop and bad cop here." Just raising the question totally neutralizes the trick. Or let's say they purposefully sit you in a chair where the sun is glaring directly into your eyes to make you sweat. Don't accuse them of being evil villains. Focus on the problem. Say, the sun in my eyes is super distracting right now. Can we adjust the schedule and maybe meet a bit later? I just can't concentrate like this. You name the friction, you completely remove its power, and you stay soft on the person. Section 4. Handling power and personal attacks. What to do when you are seriously outgunned. Okay, this is essentially the final boss of negotiations. What on earth do you do when you are completely outgunned by some massive corporate budget? Or worse, what if they start insulting you directly? Well, you have to rely on your BATNA. That stands for your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. The authors heavily stress that you should never, ever walk into a negotiation blindly just to see how things go. You must always develop your BATNA first. Your BATNA is your ultimate safety net. It is, quite literally, your power to just walk away. Now, what's really fascinating here is how true power actually shifts in this scenario. Power doesn't come from aggressive posturing or having the biggest budget. It comes entirely from your alternatives. Imagine walking into a high-stakes salary negotiation feeling desperate with 0 backup offers. Now, visualize walking into that exact same room, sitting in that exact same chair, but your inbox is glowing with 2 fantastic backup offers from competitors. Your posture changes completely, doesn't it? The more easily you can walk away from the table, the greater your actual power. Always, always build up your alternatives before you even sit down to talk. But what happens if their power takes the form of personal attacks? What if they start aggressively tearing down your ideas and trying to make you look foolish? Your natural human instinct is to defend yourself and push back hard. But if you push, they just push back harder, and you end up right back in gridlock. Instead, you need to use what the Harvard founders brilliantly call negotiation jujitsu. Just like in the actual martial art, you don't meet their aggressive force head-on. You simply step aside, and you use their own momentum to flip the focus straight back onto the problem. Let's look at 3 highly concrete jujitsu moves you can literally use today. Move 1. When they state a ridiculously aggressive demand, don't say no, instead ask why. Force them to explain their underlying interests. Move 2. If they just keep rejecting every idea you have, completely flip the script and ask for their advice. Say, okay, if you were in my shoes right now, what exactly would you do? It totally forces them to give you constructive solutions. And move 3. Actively invite criticism. Instead of getting defensive about your proposal, genuinely ask them what is mathematically or factually wrong with it. You're draining all that toxic emotional energy out of the room and forcing them to engage with the actual logical problem. To wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a beautiful story straight from the source material. It's 1964 in Hyde Park, London. Imagine an American father and his 12-year-old son playing with a frisbee, which was something rarely ever seen in England at the time. They're just throwing it back and forth, having an absolutely great time. A local man stands there watching them for like 15 minutes, looking utterly confused. Finally, he walks right up to them and asks, "Sorry to bother you, but who's winning?" The point is, asking who is winning in a negotiation is exactly like asking who is winning in a marriage. It misses the entire point. The goal isn't to defeat the person sitting across from you. The goal is working together, finding a genuinely wise solution, and keeping the frisbee in the air. So, I'll leave you with this. In your very next conflict, are you trying to crush the other side, or are you trying to keep the frisbee flying?